Hello and welcome to the final round, the concluding round of the Ultimate eRacing Driver Series here on BT Sports. It's been a fun 3 weeks, I have to say, racing IndyCar at Silverstone. We've seen the V8 racing last weekend at Nürburgring, where there was quite a lot of carnage. Those cars were not easy to handle. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take you to a circuit steeped in motorsport history. My favourite circuit of all, of course, with the famous Eau Rouge complex. We are heading to Spa, and tonight our drivers will be competing in the BMW M8 GTE cars. And I know there's some drivers out there that are going to be very happy about that. But before we head over to the track to see how they're getting on in free practice, here is Coach Enzo one final time to take us on a quick tour.
Welcome everybody to the last onboard lap that we're doing this season. It's round 3, as you know, at Spa, and we're starting the lap from here. This is where we're actually going to start the race from, and we're going to go straight into Eau Rouge. That's pretty much our turn 1. Flat out is basically when somebody comes to Spa, all they think is about taking Eau Rouge without lifting the throttle. And in this car, it is a challenge, and to some it isn't. We're going to have a lot of overtaking coming up this straight, a lot of slipstreaming into Le Com corner, which you go down to 3rd, and you basically try and use all the curb you can that you can get away with, that you're allowed to, all the way through, and try and keep the minimum speed up, because you can lose time through there very easily. Now, down the bottom here, a corner that's very easy to lock the brakes. You can see the flashing light sometimes when I brake. That means one wheel is locking, left or right. This corner is called No Name, because it has no name. You just got to keep up the minimum speed through there as well. Cool one, you've probably heard of this one. Downhill fast left hander. I'm just going to go down to 4th to make sure I get round. And you can hear maybe the traction control just cutting in. Yep, this car's got traction control. Then straight into this long right left, when you might see some people trying to do overtaking maneuvers through here. It's tricky, but it's possible. And like every single circuit we've been to, you've got a really important corner that leads you onto a straight, which means you have to get the throttle on really early and stay on. And that was that corner we've just been through. Because if you exit that corner really quick, obviously you're going to have that 2-mile-an-hour advantage all the way up here. Okay, we're coming up to the end of the lap now. Flat out corners, just about. Again, the traction control just trying to cut in. Then we come up to the bus stop. This has changed a lot over the years. Braking it right down, all the way down the gears. Trying to get that front end in, using all the curb you can. On the power as early as you dare, without trying to get any wheel spin. Because as soon as you get wheel spin and the traction control cuts in, it slows you down. Right, the source, last corner. Now I do like having this as the last corner, because that means we're going to get last lap dive bombs. And that's what this could make it a bit of an epic finale. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I had that. And that's a lap. We've done a lap, we've done the season. It's going to be a great night, and I look forward to these drivers entertaining all of you.
Well, thank you very much, Enzo. And now, just before we head track time, we've got time for a quick interview. Earlier on, I caught up with former Formula One driver Martin Donnelly. Martin Donnelly, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us for the show this evening. You know, strange times within motorsport, but before we talk about sim racing and how the motorsport world has soldiered on throughout COVID-19, I want to go back a little way in your career. Obviously, you became very famous back in the 80s. Your Lotus career with Formula One was kicking off, but things came to a very abrupt end with the very famous accident that you had that put you in a critical condition. But obviously, you came through it fighting. And you remained around the Formula One bubble for some time afterwards with many, many great friends as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to see you again and talk about my specialised subject, which is myself. Nobody knows that any better than me. And yeah, F1 was good for me at the time. Obviously, if you like, made famous because of the accident that I had and whether I survived. Not famous for wins or not, but I have a good background in that. I had 4 contracts the morning of my accident, one from Tyrrell, obviously Jordan, EJ, Arrows Grand Prix, and Lotus. And Lotus took up the option of the contract on the morning of the accident. So I had a nice frame done of check out for 40k. And my 70J blagged Peter Collins into increasing his offer, because we were waiving these contracts from Arrows and from from Tyrrell and that, and we managed to lift the fee up to 5.6 million, which I signed for. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see a penny of that money, but hey ho, I'm here to talk about it. And there's a lot more famous drivers than me, like my good friend Ayrton Senna, who's here not to, and I have to realise that I'm still involved in the sport that I love. I still race, I still manage drivers. I'm very, very fortuitous, you know. And that part of my life is gone. But as you said, I then came back in to F1. I was an F1 driver steward for 4 years, and still in contact with my friends. We did a Zoom meeting there on Wednesday night with a Rat Pack group, which we meet up every year in London.
What could have been, you know, quite depressing in some respects in the fact that you should have been one of the top drivers alongside Senna for many, many years.
I agree.
You were talented in that respect, and you were well respected as an incredibly talented driver, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way after the accident. But certainly you've remained very much a respected figure within motorsport, and continue to, like you say, to race, to coach people, to wind people up, to tease people.
Fleece them as well.
Fleece people, yes, absolutely. So eSports, talk to me about that. During lockdown, have you actually competed in some of these events?
Yes, we do. We were doing the R series, where the boys had their car, do these little twin car things, and there was a big championship for them in that. So we got a few sponsors involved in that. Virtual Effects and Special Effects were main sponsor for that. Thank you, John. And we the two boys up north and in Edinburgh came in and backed that as well. And you know, we got a couple of podium positions in that with the boys. They were quite happy. But so much so that Marco, the kick back in the steering wheel, has affected his right forearm. So he's got a lot of pain and discomfort for that. And his left fist, he can't grab something because we did so much shifting on that. That is now going to like a claw. And because Edinburgh was in lockdown with physiotherapy and chiropractors, he can't get himself seen to. So being the good guy I am, the first race for us is in 2 weeks' time at Snetterton. It's a 45-minute race. I said, look, fear not, Marco, I'll step in. It can be 2 driver or 1 driver. So I'll step in and fill the breach. And if you can't feel you're going to do the race, when you get the pit stop window, I'll step in and carry the flag for you. So watch out, Donny's back on track for the July.
Oh, it's wonderful to chat to you. Thank you so much. Well, always a barrel of laughs with Martin Donnelly, let's face it. Now it's time to join our race commentators as we head to the action. Here is Chris McCarthy and Jack Canane.
Thank you, Gemma. What a fantastic way to kick off the show. And what a show it is going to be. The finale of the Ultimate eDriver Series, where the top 3 are separated by just 1 point. And today we will crown the Ultimate eDriver Champion. Just to give you a rundown of how the format is going to work, same as ever. Once we've had qualifying, the drivers will be split into 3 heats. They will be 4 laps each, where the top 8 will go through. The remaining drivers who do not qualify directly through to the feature race via those heats will be put into a consolation race, which will be 3 laps. Then we will have the feature race, 8 laps to decide our champion. That is where the points are up for grabs, and that is where the prize of being crowned the Ultimate eDriver Series champion will be decided. We're going to be at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, not a better place to end this fantastic championship. All the drivers will be out in the BMW M8 GTE. More details coming up for you before we get the racing underway, so hang tight. But for now, we're going to cross back to Gemma Scott, who is chatting with British GT driver Ben Green.
Ben, it's lovely to have you with us. I love the setting behind you, and from what I understand, we are actually in your front room, not your garage.
Yeah, no, this is literally my front room. The car's been here for about 4 years now, 3 years. I had a crash, unfortunately. I got caught up in someone else's accident, and the car was bent. It was ready to go in the bin. Luckily, we had insurance, we got a new car. But this was ready to go in the bin, so we managed to get it swapped and turned it into a simulator.
This is your simulator in your front. This is incredible. I love this story. So you actually sit inside this car with the screens around you, right?
That's it, yeah. So the pedals and the steering wheel are in exactly the same position as when I'm driving the car in real life.
So you've probably, out of the whole of isolation, had the most realistic sim of any driver across any discipline.
Yeah, I've got no excuses really, let's be honest. Yeah, no, it's great fun. It's really cool.
Do you get in your full race suit and helmet and gloves and everything?
I haven't yet, but if we miss racing for much longer, I might have to be honest.
Wonderful story. But look, that was back in 2017 that you had the accident. Unfortunately, you were okay, luckily. From then, you've moved forward through into British GT and you were second in the championship. What I'm interested to know is, you're very young still. You chose to move your karting career into Genettas and strictly through a GT route. Was that always your dream and always your passion?
Yeah, so it was actually quite funny. In my first year of karting, I went to a series called the British Schools Karting Championship. Went to the national final and won the fastest lap award. And then that award was 2 tickets to go and watch British GT, which is obviously the GT series I ended up doing. So I went to watch this series in 2012, 2013, completely unaware that I'd actually end up aiming to do that a few years later. And yeah, that was really what got me hooked, to be honest. I saw the GT cars, just the sound, diversity. You've got Audis, Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW, Aston Martin, Bentley. It's a really cool grid and championship, and they're raced all around the world as well. So there's just so much going for GT racing for me, and obviously single seaters is really cool, but a lot of money, much harder to get advertising for. There's a lot less jobs available. Kind of when you get to the end of where you want to achieve, there's maybe 15, 20 drivers in the world getting paid to do top level single seaters, maybe more, but around that level where there's significantly more in GTs, 3 or 4 times that I'd imagine. So yeah, that's the reason I aim to do GTs, because the diversity and also the chance of getting a job, I think, is much more realistic.
You're no stranger to a sim, we now know. But how have you found the challenges of going into a Formula 3 car and then jumping into, we've had the V8s last week, we had the Indy car as well the week before. How do you find stepping in and out of different vehicles?
Yeah, I absolutely loved the V8s last week. That was a really cool mix up to what I've normally done anyway. And yeah, I think it's really good because it makes you a much more adaptable driver. If you have to change cars constantly all the time, different disciplines, different techniques, I think it makes you a much more well-rounded driver. And that's something that eRacing's really got going for it compared to real life. And yeah, there's just so much going on. It's weird because I haven't been busy because the tracks aren't open in real life. I've been really busy because the tracks are open on the sim, and there's been race after race after race, and then there's practice, and then there's official practice, and then there's photo shoots on the track in the game. It's really busy. It is quite funny. But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. It's definitely kept me motivated during the lockdown and given me something to do, that's for sure.
So what's next for you in 2020 once we're finally starting to see lockdown eased across the world?
Fingers crossed. I'll be out in Germany this year, racing in the DTM Trophy. So it's a new series that started up this year. It's just for GT4 cars, and it's sprint racing. So 1 driver per car, which is odd for a GT car because normally they're shared apart from the DTM. So it's a really good opportunity. There's some great prizes up for grabs, and the aim is to win the championship. That's what I'm aiming for this season. We've got some great tracks: Spa, Lausitzring, Nürburgring, Zolder, and Hockenheim. And the season starts on the 1st and 2nd of August.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you the very best of luck with that. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Brilliant interview with Ben Green. And can I just say, that is the coolest simulator ever. Fantastic. Thank you to Gemma there, catching up with Ben Green just before we are about to go racing. So we are in qualifying at the moment. It is just coming to a close. This will set the grid for the heats. Now each driver will be put into a heat. The drivers 1st, 4th and 7th will go into Heat 1. That's kind of how the system works. Those heat will be just 4 laps only, where the top 8 will go through. The rest of the drivers who do not go through will go into a 3-lap consolation race where the top 5 go through. And then we will have our grid set for our feature race. 8 laps. They will have to do 1 pit stop to take on fuel. And then at the end of that race, we will crown our champion. As for the point system in that feature race, the top 10 score points with 25 points going to our winner. And considering how close it is in the championship, Jack, I'd say those 25 points could be very very valuable. We have just 8 points between the top 6.
Exactly. It's super, super close. But crucially, one of our championship contenders not here. Jonathan Hoggard, did not see him enter the server at all, so he's at the moment out of contention. But Liam Lawson in second, tied on those 30 points. Bart Horston is in with a shot. Chris Lullum, Matthew Payne, all within that shot as well. But Liam Lawson is in this heat in 5th place. And yeah, there he is, Ruben Barrichello, back for another shot in a BMW M8 around Spa. And we do have a rolling start coming from Blanchimont onto the straight before Eau Rouge. We're using the other pit lane for this one, not the Grand Prix pits. We're using the endurance pits for this one. But they're about to get rolling with Josh Malin with a very impressive qualifying, and Ramez Azam in 2nd place. This is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, Josh Malin, as you said, did very well in qualifying last round as well, didn't he? So knows how to qualify. Was just a little bit unfortunate when it came to racing at the 2nd round at Nürburgring, which was in V8 Supercars. For any newcomers, this has been the challenge we have set to these drivers. 3 rounds, 3 different tracks, 3 different cars, and those track car combinations are not revealed until 3 hours before this point. So they only have a couple of hours of testing, and then they are thrown straight into a challenge. But we've had some crazy combinations. Indy cars at Silverstone, then we had V8 Supercars at Nürburgring. But I think a more conventional way to end, this is what I like, all out in the GTE cars around one of the best circuits in the world, Jack. I'll hand over to you to talk us through the race start. The race start, of course, the last corner is going to be La Source. So that will be the last corner. It's going to be a hairpin. Wonder if when we get into about an hour's time going into that hairpin, will it be a battle between the top 2 to decide our champion? So 4 laps, this the first of 3 heats. Top 8 go through. Other than that, no points to be scored. So only those top 8 places matter. Jack, over to you for the start.
And here we go. Safety car peels off, and Josh Malin went very, very early. As across the line they come, and the first corner being Eau Rouge and Radion. Up they go for the first time. Josh Malin leads. Ramez Azam in 2nd. Then Ben Green, who we just heard from, in 3rd place. Liam Lawson, the championship contender. Oh, off the road, Ben Green at the top of the hill. Massive one, and comes across and collected in a massive, massive way. There's multiple cars. Rubens Barrichello just gets through there, but Ed Jones got caught up in that with Adam Christodoulou, and that's an absolutely huge crash at the top of Eau Rouge, at the top of the massive big climb up towards Radion. Chris Tarhan, Adam Christodoulou and Ben Green are now out of contention. They will be going to the consolation race, but Ben Green flipping wildly over the top. That's not what we want to see. Nick Yellowly also going slowly. My God, everything happened at the top of the hill there. But after all of that, Josh Malin gets through, Ramez Azam gets through, and crucially for his championship, Liam Lawson goes through and he's in 3rd.
Yeah, as you said, the championship is what it's all to play for. There is Rubens Barrichello. He's in this as well. He is 9th at the moment, so only 1 place away from going through to the top 8. And we've had a lot of familiar faces in this championship. F1, F2, F3, FIA World Endurance Championship drivers, Le Mans drivers, and of course, the likes of legends of the sport in Rubens Barrichello there. And great to hear from Martin Donnelly at the head of the program. Liam Lawson, he's going to be busy this week. He's going to be over in Austria for the start of the FIA F3 Championship, but before he makes that trip, he is racing in this. 3rd on track so far. Ramez Azam just ahead of him. And then ahead of that, we have Josh Malin, who will be hoping for a clean run of things this time. So those championship contenders, Hoggard is not here. So Lawson is the effective championship leader. He is behind Ramez Azam, who we are looking at. So this is good for his championship. Horston is then effectively 2nd, 1 point behind. Then 6 points back, we have the likes of Lullum, Payne and Bortolotti as well. No Epps, unfortunately, with us. He's been out testing today. Alex Connor, he could have a shot at it as well if he has a really good result. But that's 1 lap before down. We look back down the field. We can see Freddie Spinlow. Looks like he's about to make a move here on Luke Browning, and does so. Freddie Spinlow, young Carter, commentating on a lot of times. Oh dear, Ali Al Khalifa has taken a spin at La Source, and I think we're about to see exactly how that happens. So Ali Al Khalifa at the head of this queue. Driver coming to the outside of him, and oh yeah, there we go, helped around. Big contact as well, that one. Have some of that. But Ali Al Khalifa, I think we'll see you in the consolation race.
Exactly, and he got taken out by none other than Rubens Barrichello. What an honour that'd be.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
no.
That was Rubens Barrichello getting into the back room, trying to move up the inside and collected him. So that he has the honour of being spun around by a legend of Formula One. But
I would take that any day. Rubens
Exactly.
Barrichello can come and I was going to say take me for a spin, but that sounds like we're going to go dancing or something. But he can take me out any day he wants.
Right, well, Josh Malin still leads. Ramazan closing a little bit. Liam Lawson third. Matthew Payne kind of just hanging in there in fourth place. Then we have Freddie Spindlow, Luke Browning, Rubens Barrichello in seventh, and then Matty Hingley, who actually saw spinning around earlier. He's back into eighth place now. Nick Yellowly, Ed Jones, Adam Christodoulo, and Ali Al Khalifa after that spin. There is Nick Yellowly. He's right up behind Matty Hingley now. As you can see, the eighth place is for the transfer spot, the immediate transfer spot into the feature race. So it's a really, really crucial one. And I was just about to actually mention around Spa about the off-track system here on iRacing. If you're not familiar with it, anytime you run off the road, there is an in-game stewarding system that gives you an incident point. If you collect too many of those incident points, you will be either given a drive-through penalty or you will be completely disqualified. Now, the reason I mention it is that Spa is notorious for Blanchimont and many other corners for being incredibly harsh with the incident points. If you even put two wheels off the road, you will be picking up incident points left, right and centre. As we look at Rubens Barrichello on board them as we run through down towards the bus stop chicane onto the outside of Luke Browning, late on the brakes, round the outside. Can he get it stopped? Three abreast is Matty Hingley, and spinning around, Nick Yellowly collects Matty Hingley in the bus stop chicane as well, and that was so unfortunate. Nick Yellowly completely innocent in that one. Matty Hingley was very late on the brakes, trying to go around the outside and making it three abreast into the bus stop. That was never going to work, and they end up falling down. But Matty Hingley still holds on to that eighth place. Nick Yellowly still chasing him down. But Rubens Barrichello looking pretty racy in this GT car. He's up behind Luke Browning right now. Still will now have to try and get himself back up to him. But yeah, a good showing from Rubens. He's on course to get into the feature race anyway, where he is. But we're on lap 3 of 4, and the top 3 look pretty set. And the fastest lap of the race was set that time by Liam Lawson.
Great stuff from Liam Lawson in third place, but Rubens Barrichello getting involved in nothing. Luke Browning, you should be scared. You've got Rubens Barrichello coming after you, and he's had one down already this race, so we'll keep an eye on this one. But Luke Browning, young British F4 driver, being chased by former F1 driver Rubens Barrichello. This the battle for 6, so both these guys will go through to the feature race at this stage. This would just determine how far up the grid they start. So the winner of this race will be pole position, second will start 4th, third will start 7th, and then it works its way down from that. But top 8 go through. So the approach to this race is a strange one, because you want to get in that top 8, but you also want to start higher up the grid as well. So it's how many risks you take, and with only 4 laps, you've got to make your moves quickly, as Rubens Barrichello has demonstrated. Looking back from Luke Browning now, you can see Rubens Barrichello trying to find room on the outside where there perhaps isn't some, but Luke Browning's giving him the space. They're going to be side by side now as they come through the right-hander here. Down to Stavilo they go, and it's going to be Barrichello still on the outside. Browning doing a very good job at defending as they now make the long run down towards the bus stop. So great defending from Browning. Barrichello's going to have to try again.
Yeah, this is fantastic to watch. Now, I have been told there is a 15x incident limit, and just to update you, the leaders are on 12. They've got to be careful. They cannot afford to run off the track anymore. The one that's in most danger at the moment is Matthew Payne. He's on 13 off tracks. 15 off tracks, you're immediately booted out of the race and disqualified. And they have been warned to not go wide at certain corners. Last source, not to go wide there. No name corner, don't go wide there, because you will pick up a penalty. The stewards are watching. So I was talking about how difficult it is to keep the car on the road here, and these guys are really proving it now. They're within about 11 or 12 off tracks in a 4-lap race. Imagine that. We'll get to the feature race on board with Liam Lawson up the hill at Eau Rouge, over the top of Radion, and now he's in the slipstream. Fastest lap of the race from him that time. Slipstream quite powerful even in these GT cars. Josh Malin weaving to try and break the toe. Liam Lawson firmly in the slipstream of Ramaz Azam. Is he going to try anything? He's going to show himself from the mirrors. Azam looks to the inside, and just to cover him off just there, and holds on for now as they come to the top of the hill at the end of the Kemmel Straight, getting right on the end of him. These guys really don't need to fight, because there isn't points on offer right here, but they will want to, because it's for honour's sake.
Well, you know, this is as we're on board here with Liam Lawson. Great camera angle this. Really get a view of what Liam Lawson is getting. But one thing I would say, you know, Lawson's in the championship fight, so he needs to be starting as high up the field as possible. if he finishes in the lead of this race, he takes pole position. But at the moment, this would put him 7th on the grid for the feature race. That's going to make him in a bit of danger. You know, he's going to be in a fairly dangerous position to get involved in some incidents, or if one of his championship rivals is on pole position, it will give them a chance to escape. So Liam Lawson, although we would usually say, Jack, if this was the first round, you'd say, well, don't fight, just go through. But Liam Lawson needs to find a couple of places perhaps, or at least one, and he's running out of time because we are on the final lap now as they're about to head down towards Blanchimont, down towards the bus stop. Then, of course, they have La Source. That will be the final corner. Lawson doesn't look close enough. I have to say, Jack, Josh Malin has done a very good job out front and stayed very calm under pressure from two very experienced drivers in Ramez Azam and Liam Lawson. But I think the main fight here is going to be for second place as they come down to the final 2 corners.
Through the bus stop, I reckon Azam's going to be picking up a penalty. He's on 16 off tracks, so I think the stewards will be looking at it. So here we go across the what would be the F1 start finish. We've got one more corner to go. Josh Malin holding off against Ramez Azam and Liam Lawson in 3rd place. So Josh Malin to take pole position in the feature race as they run to the line for the final time. Josh Malin crossed the line to win heat race number 1. Ramez Azam provisionally is 2nd, and Liam Lawson, the championship leader, crosses the line in 3rd place. Then it's Matthew Payne, Freddie Spindlow, Rubens Barrichello, Luke Browning and Matty Hingley will get through to the feature race. Adam Christodoulou, Ali Al Khalifa, Ed Jones, Ben Green, Nick Yellowly and Chris Tarhan will all go to the consolation race.
Brilliant stuff. 1 down, 2 more to go. Then the top 8 have gone through. 9th down. They'll go into the consolation race, as Jack says. 2 more heats coming up before our main championship decider, our feature race. So we're going to head now back across to Gemma Scott, who is catching up with Ollie Bierman.
Ollie, the last time we spoke, you were at home on your sim. Clearly, you're back out at a race circuit, and that looks rather like Imola behind you. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm here to do one of my first tests out of the UK in an F4 car. So yeah, we're going to a track with quite a few people at big names. So looking to be in the mix.
You're there with your I imagine your father's with you, your manager's with you as well.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about that actually. First of all, 15 years old, you've already got management. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I signed with WH Sports early this year, and they've just been really helpful guiding me through nutrition, fitness, preparation, mindset, all really important things that often go unnoticed. So yeah, they've really been helpful.
Most 15-year-olds that I know are still riding scooters around skate parks. They're taking their BMXs out. They're winding their parents up with gaming. Ollie, you are so mature. You are in the shoes of somebody, you know, you're now walking the tracks of people who have walked these, who are Formula One drivers, and you are well on your way, and that's clearly your goal. How do you stay focused as a 15-year-old boy?
Well, I always keep the main goal in mind, which is obviously being one of those one day, making it to Formula One. And that keeps me motivated. So I always look at the main focus and see that everything I'm doing is worth it.
Well, listen, Ollie, I'll let you get back to your track walk. Thank you very much for your time and for joining me tonight.
Cheers.
Great to hear from Ollie Bierman there, live from Imola. Brilliant stuff that was. He's out there testing in the ADAC F4 cars. And great for Ollie to join us from the Imola circuit whilst on a track walk. Brilliant interview as ever. So we're getting ready for the second heat then. Same format, top 8 go through. The rest go into the consolation race. Here's your grid. Phil Denez is going to be on pole position. One of our championship contenders, Chris Lullum, is second. He is 7 points off the championship lead. 7 points of Lawson, who just finished third, so he'll be looking to finish higher than that. Then we have Kenneth Gulbradson, Alfred Nielsen, Matt Stevens, Mike Epps has been back from his testing and he's been able to join us. Will Stevens is going to be on row 4 with Enzo Mucci, and I'll be keeping a close eye on Enzo after his antics at round 1. Andreas Beckman is going to be on row number 5. And then we have the likes of Martins, Cottrell, Pinero, and Gatoa. Is that Natoa? Gatoa, I believe that might be, in 13th place. Right, here they come then. Rolling start For those of you who may have just joined us, La Source will be the last corner, usually used as the first corner in most championships. It's going to be the last for us here. Top 8 are going to go through. We have just had the top 8 go through in Heat 1. We will have another heat after this. In that first heat was our championship leader, Liam Lawson, who went through successfully. One of our main championship contenders in this one, in Chris Lulham as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on him. There you can see 2x2, we're in the BMW M8 GTE. Rolling starts will be the format throughout the day. No points can be scored in this race. Only top 8 go through, and then that is that. It just helps us set the grid for the feature race where the big points are up for grabs in this series finale. Okay, they come now to make their way to Eau Rouge for the first time, and we are off. Dennis is going to lead us down towards the first corner. Lulham tucking straight into second place, so a good start from him. Gulbranson is in third, Nielsen in fourth, Epps in fifth, Stevens sixth, and it's Stevens in seventh place, Mucci in eighth. Oh dear, young Harry Cottrell has taken a spin. Unfortunately, he's going to be in the consolation race unless there are some big incidents ahead. But Phil Dennis defending now into Les Combes there from Chris Lulham. Chris Lulham trying to get the switch back, and Chris Lulham might have the inside into the right-hander here. Chris Lulham could grab the lead early doors. He's still going to be side by side with Dennis. Dennis refusing to give this one up now as they make their way down to the hairpin. Just in the background, Gulbranson and Nielsen there. Nielsen trying to swap places with Epps, and Dennis just about able to, he's not quite able to get back through. Lulham just about gets that move done, but that will certainly be a warning and a bit more as he comes out of no name. So one of the championship contenders, Chris Lulham, in the lead early doors here, Jack.
That was brilliant stuff from Chris Lulham. That was bravery of the highest order to go around the outside of Phil Dennis in Les Combes. We look now at the two Stevens. Matt Stevens leading Will Stevens right here as he just got fast into fifth place. Now, this is actually crucial for Chris Lulham. He needs to finish ahead because it will mean that he'll start a grid slot higher than Liam Lawson. He needs to just make sure that he's right up there with Liam because he's got a 7-point deficit to him. So every position counts. If he takes this one, he's going to be right with Liam, if not ahead of him. Phil Dennis in second, Kenneth Gulbranson in third, Mike Epps up to fourth, then Matt Stevens and Will Stevens. We look at Alfred Nilsson on Will Stevens now, down towards Blanchimont in the slipstream. Not quite able to pull alongside as they come through. Blanchimont for the first time. Back to the front, Phil Dennis versus Chris Lulham once again into the bus stop chicane. Is anybody going to try anything? Gulbranson shows himself in the mirrors in the background. Through the bus stop they come. But this is going to be a great fight that's going to go all race long, I think. 4 laps around here. It's a sprint race. And now Chris Lulham under pressure. Spinner, that is Martins, the Portuguese driver in the 37 car, spins out of 8th place, which gives Andreas Bachmann the 8th place back. And as they come through, that was, yeah, indeed. So it's now, we come across the line to start the next lap. It's Chris Lulham with Phil Dennis behind them. And now Chris is going to be very, very vulnerable because the slipstream is very powerful, even in these M8 GTE cars.
This was the combination I wanted to see, GTEs around Spa, because it's going to be very close door-to-door action. And once again, it's now Dennis's turn to have a go at Lulham as they make their way down towards Les Combes. Dennis is on the outside, Lulham trying to defend on the inside, and Dennis, is he going to be able to get through? It's almost like a mirror version of what we saw. Oh, no contact! Lulham is off into the barriers. Lulham off into the barriers, but he somehow managed to rejoin the track again. In the background, that looks like Matt Stevens trying to get through now. Will Stevens just behind. Oh no, Will Stevens, contact with Matt Stevens, and Lulham is off. Lulham off, he's beached in the gravel now, and Chris Lulham, well, at best he's going to be going into the consolation race. He looks like he could be out of this race. That all started when Will Stevens made contact with Matt Stevens. Matt Stevens then had no control over his car after that, and he went straight into a very innocent Chris Lulham. Now Chris Lulham, he's gone out, well, he's out the race, so he's going to be in the consolation race, and the best he'll be able to do is get to the back of the grid for the feature. So let's have another look at this. On board with Will Stevens. Is there a touch now to Matt Stevens? There it is. Matt Stevens loses control of his car, and Chris Lulham is out of the race. What a shame, and what a dramatic turnaround in the championship, Jack.
Wow. Anything that could have gone wrong for Chris Lulham just did, and he's out of this race. We may see him in the consolation race, but I have seen that he's completely disconnected off the service. Whether he's going to take part or not, I'm not sure. He's going to be absolutely furious, and he was battling for the lead with Phil Dennis. There was just that slight little touch, and these cars are very sensitive to that. and he ended up in the gravel, managed to bounce it back off the barrier, but then just completely innocent Will Stevens causing the incident there to send Matt Stevens into him. But now Phil Dennis back in the lead, Kenneth Gulbranson now the second, and a very pacey looking Mike Epps is in third place right now, the number 39, as they come across the line to start lap number 3. Phil Dennis is not out of the woods yet. He may have been attacked by Chris Lulham for the first 2 laps, but now for the next 2, it looks like Kenneth Gulbranson is going to be the one to put the pressure on.
Yeah, Kenneth Gulbranson, a fairly new name. I don't know if we've seen a lot of him so far this series, but FIA ADAC F4 driver racing over in Germany so far. But he has now trying to have a look round the outside of Dennis. So this was the exact same move Dennis had to pull off on Lulham. Oh, and contact. Dennis now off. Gulbranson is going to take the lead. Oh, and Dennis has gone round. Clipped the curb as he rejoined the track. And Dennis may be in the consolation race. He has to try and stay in the top 8. And with the field split, he should be able to do that. He's come out in 6th place. So Phil Dennis manages to get going again. But more drama here. This is only one of the heats, Heat 2. We still have Heat 3 consolation and then our main feature race. But Gulbranson has gone into the lead. Mike Epps has just been picking places up. He hasn't even had to do any overtaking, really, Mike Epps. He sits there now in 2nd, was 5th at the start of the race. And with all these incidents, the former British touring car driver now sits there in 2nd place, making a big name for himself in the eSports world over the last couple of months. But great to see Mike Epps has made it back from testing at Donington, and he is out with us. He sits there in 2nd. Not sure he's going to have enough time to catch Gulbranson, but he will take this. This is going to put him 6th on the grid. This is going to put him 5th on the grid, for the feature race, which will give him a real shot to end this championship on a high. He took big points home with him at round 2, had a brilliant drive there, did Mike Epps, to finish in 2nd place. So we'll see what he can do in this one. Now behind, of course, is Stevens. He was involved in the big drama earlier, the incident that eventually saw Chris Lulham out. And as Jack said, he's left the server, so we don't even know if we're going to see him. He's effectively got in his car and left the track. That's the equivalent to leaving a server. Nielsen then just behind him in 4th place. Beckman is 5th, Dennis 6th, Skatoa 7th, and then Matt Stevens in 8th, Jack.
Exactly, yeah, just to go back on that Phil Dennis incident, that was all his own doing. He outbraked himself, and then Gulbranson just gave him a little tap in the rear, so nothing Gulbranson could do. But yeah, unusual from Phil Dennis, just trying to defend. And now these cars have traction control and ABS, but sometimes it can actually hinder you more than help you. So as he was trying to get back from the grass, the traction control was kicking in and he couldn't even get anywhere. But he is still in 6th place. He will still make the feature race if he keeps it clean and between the bales right now. We look at Will Stevens with Alfred Nilsson on his tail right now. Alfred Nilsson having a really good run today, battling away with Will Stevens. Of course, both of these guys drive in GT cars. Of course, Will Stevens more used to LMP, but Alfred Nilsson a GT4 class driver, so more used to a GT style car as they've come through Brussels into No Name. Looking all good right now. Less off tracks in this one by the looks of it compared to the previous race where they were picking off tracks up left, right and centre. The warnings from Enzo obviously came through. Enzo just outside there in 9th place at the moment, actually, and not going to quite make the feature as of yet, but anything can happen. He usually does in these things as he tries to chase after Harry Cottrell, who is in the barrier at Radion, who's just behind him as well. And there was an interesting little thing when Chris Lulham and all of those guys went off at the end of Brussels into the hairpin. A couple of guys actually were so focused on the crash in front of them that they outbraked themselves and went into the gravel. Matty, I can't remember who it was, but I believe Enzo Mucci went off by himself. Ramon Pinero went off by himself as they saw the crash in front of them. They couldn't believe what happened in front of them.
Enzo Mucci, I think he just went off by himself. He'll use that as an excuse, but I'd say he just went off on his own. There we go. Kenneth Gulbranson is going to take the win here. This is going to put him on the front row of the grid. Mike Epps is going to be 2nd. Will Stevens, preliminary, he's going to be third. Of course, that incident I'm sure will be looked into. This is a good little battle. Dennis on his recovery from that big mistake. He's going to go up to 5th place ahead of Andreas Beckman, but Beckman's going to have a chance to fight back. But it's going to be Kenneth Gulbrandsen who is going to take the win in a very, very dramatic heat number 2. That puts him 2nd on the grid for the feature. Mike Epps will be 5th in the feature. 8th in the feature will be Will Stevens. 11th will be Alfred Nilsson. 14th, Denez, and then we have Beckman, who will be 17th, and then 20th, and just outside of the top 20 will be Stevens and Gatoa. Enzo Mucci is 9th, Harry Cottrell 10th, Martins in 11th, Pinero, Lulham all go in to the consolation race. Wow, I need a breather after that one. I'm sure you do as well, Jack. What a race that was for a heat as well. Fantastic stuff. There is one more of those to come. Heat 3 coming up very shortly. But while we get our breath back, we're going to go over to Gemma Scott, who is speaking to Porsche Super Cup driver Jaden Conwright.
Jaden, thank you so much for joining us, for making the time to chat to us from over there in the States. You started off at age 14, very, very strong. You won the Formula Car Challenge over in the States. You're racing in the Porsche now. What's your goal?
I would definitely love if I can get some opportunities again to do some single-seater stuff again, whether it's in Europe or in the US or even Japan. I would love to try it, but I mean right now I think I'm focusing on racing Super Cup, building my connections along in the GT world, and then just trying to move my way up into an even higher professional seat.
I understood from a conversation we had earlier on that you actually went as far as flying to Austria ready to test ahead of the Formula One weekend and actually got turned away. COVID-19 has really messed with our world, hasn't it?
So I didn't really know about it until I flew there to have a transit flight, and then I got turned away. Basically, no argument. We called people from Porsche, we had talked to people from Formula One, things like that, but it was no avail. They didn't really care either way. They said all your paperwork, everything checks out, but no, you can't come in.
Will you be able to get back for the race?
If we can't do the full championship, we'll definitely try to race if things start easing up at the moment. I mean, right now it's kind of up in the air. The last thing we want to do is try to travel back and have the same experience again.
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever I can get over there, I would love to race as soon as possible. So
to miss races will be dire for the championship.
We'll just see how the whole world is in a few weeks, since it seems like it changes every single day. Hopefully everything will go back to normal sometime soon, so everyone can just get back out there and racing, and the fans could get out there to enjoy it in person again.
Thanks for your time, for joining us, Jaden. I really appreciate that. Great to chat to you.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Gemma. Great to hear from Jaden Conwright. He's going to be racing in Porsche Super Cup this year, which of course kicks off this weekend over at Red Bull Ring. But a real shame to hear about the trouble Jaden has had actually getting into the country in recent testing events. So really do hope he's able to make it over there. But as he said, it is a long season, and hopefully he'll be able to get in for into the upcoming rounds and have a good go at things in the championship. Now, to run you through this championship, we have the top 6 are separated by 8 points. Our championship leader isn't here, so Hoggard, unless no one scores any points, then he'll win, but that's very unlikely that that's going to happen. Lawson, who was tied on points with Hoggard, finished 3rd in Heat 1, so he'll be 7th on the grid. Matthew Payne was just behind him, so he'll be 10th on the grid. Then we have Lulham. Of course, he was only 7 points away from the championship lead. He just DNF'd, so he's going to be in the consolation race. Now, in this race, we have Horston, who is 2nd in the championship, and Bortolotti, who is 6th in the championship. Jack, I'll hand over to you for the race start.
Here we go. Gordy Much leads the pack away with it, and he got a brilliant getaway. He's left them for dead as they come across the line. Gordy Much leads. Bart Horston and Bortolotti are 2nd and 3rd. Jordan Albert is 4th. Kiko Porto, Dudu Barrichello, of course, is in 6th. Anthony Mott, Stevenson, Behrman, Donaldson, Vossen, Connor and Goldson. Here we go. Bortolotti versus Horston. He slipstreams around the outside as they go 2x2. He should get in front of him with the overspeed, and does. He's a full car length. Immediately goes to the inside to cover him off. So Bortolotti slots in to 2nd place. Bart Horston Horston third. Jordan Albert holds on to that fourth place for now as they go line astern through there. Kiko Porto, the two Brazilians there, Porto and Barrichello in fifth and sixth. Then Anthony Mott and Stevenson hold on to the 8th place. Barrichello has a little... that was Porto, sorry, having a little look on Jordan Albert. But all clean as now Horston has a little look on Bortolotti through down towards No Name on the outside. Gets sideways as he comes through No Name. He's going to lose a couple of spots right there. He might lose it to Jordan Albert, who may go through on the inside to head down towards Pouon. And it's getting a little bit feisty here now. Jordan Albert on the inside. Horston going to try hang it around the outside of Pouon as they come through. Very fast sequence of corners. Manages to hang it around the outside. Neck and neck with Jordan Albert and loses at the back end. Jordan Albert goes off into the wall hard, and that will cost him every single spot on the grid down towards the tail end of the field with a simple error, the traction control kicking in and stopping him from saving the slide. Goldstein goes through, and that promotes, of course, Ollie Behrman into the 8th spot right there. But pity for Jordan Albert. Great fight there, but fair play to Bart Horst for hanging around the outside of Pouon. That is not easy at all.
No, and never advised either, is it? But he gave it a very good go, and great racing it is between these two championship contenders. We have to remember in Bortolotti and Horston. Horston only 1 point off the championship lead. Bortolotti just 8, and with the problems for Lulham, they've got a chance to make some places immediately here if they can qualify at the front of the field. Behrman, we heard from him earlier on. He's just going through there as he gets up to 7th place. Brilliant stuff from Ollie Behrman as he makes his way now down towards La Source. Stevenson trying to fight back. Casper Stevenson is going to try and dive down the inside and does. Behrman trying to get the switch back, but a brilliant block pass there from Casper Stevenson, giving Ollie Behrman no other options but to tuck in behind. Voisin is just behind these guys. Out front it is the Scotsman Gordy Much who is leading the way. Bortolotti in 2nd, Horston is 3rd, Porto 5th, Dudu Barrichello is then in 5th place, and it is Mott, Stevenson and Behrman. The top 8 go through to the feature race, which is where the points are up for grabs, where the title is going to be decided. At the moment, it's Gordy Much who is leading. This would put him 3rd on the grid for that feature race. Bortolotti and Horston would be 6th and 9th on the grid if they finish where they are. Right, we've got some more side-by-side action. This is Ollie Behrman, who is still fighting with Stevenson. Behrman has now got through. Stevenson is now going to be passed, it seems, by Callum Voisin. Voisin not quite able to get the move done. So Stevenson just about holding on to 8th as they come through No Name. Lap number 2 of 4. Really quick fire races, these ones, where we eliminate drivers who will have to go through into a consolation race as we now jump on board through Pouon here with Callum Voisin really trying to find a way through. Desperate to get into that feature race. To do so, all he needs to do is make one more place now as they come into the right-hander through the left. Voisin may try and have a stab into Stavolo to get a move done, but can't quite get through. So almost halfway through the race now, Jack. Still very close in the fight for those final few qualifying spots.
Yeah, you still stick on board with Callum Voisin now. He's lost a little bits of time through Stavolo there as they come up towards Blanchimont once again for the 2nd time. And they'll go on to lap 3 of 4. Gordy Much still leading out front by a comfortable margin. Be careful not to run too wide through Blanchimont right there. And they come down towards the bus stop chicane, getting it stopped on the brakes. ABS will help them here as they come through. Careful not to get on the power too early because the TC will kick in and it will not help you on the corner exits, but everybody doing an excellent job to get through right there as they come down towards La Source, the final corner on this layout of Spa, and they all still nicely bunched up together. And Stevenson is still trying to get up the inside of Ollie Behrman right now, but really Callum Voisin is the one that needs to get past because he's currently in 9th place and he needs one more spot to guarantee himself a place in the feature race when we get to that after the consolation race. And at the moment he's heading into the consolation race up through Radion for the 3rd time, and Gordy Much comfortably in the lead at the moment, as you can see, and Bart Horston going with Bortolotti in 2nd place. So they're holding on to their spots at the moment, but they're battling away for the championship as well. Horston more of contention than Bortolotti is, even though Bortolotti is firmly in contention. But Bart Horston really needs as many grid places as he possibly can. And I think what he's doing is he's allowing Bortolotti to kind of drag him up towards Gordy Much as they seem to have a tiny bit more pace over the Scotsman who's out in the lead at the moment. But we'll see in due course. Only a lap and a half to go. But Bortolotti currently getting the better of Bart Horsten, and that means 2 grid slots more ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree with you actually there. Horsten, as you said, I think he's playing the long game here, isn't he? He's got a gap over Porto, but equally, as we say that, Porto and Barrichello could close that gap very quickly if the pair start battling. So they really are piling the pressure on Much here. Much would be hoping to be looking in his mirrors and see a fight going on between 2 championship contenders, but that is not the case at the moment as they now make their way down towards Blanchimont on lap number 3 of 4. We go back with Gordy Much. We haven't seen a huge amount of him in this race. It's been very straightforward for him so far, leading out front from Bortolotti and Horsten. Porto there in 4th, Barrichello in 5th place, Mott, Bierman and Stevenson. Right, well, they're going to change their minds now, Jack. Just as we said they're going to follow each other around, they're not going to do that anymore. Bortolotti now feeling the need to defend from Horsten. Horsten, is he going to have a go into La Source? Doesn't seem close enough, but well, by the time they get to the Kemmel Straight, Bart Horsten may just be able to drive straight past Bortolotti. And that might have been the plan for Horsten. Wait to the last lap on the Kemmel Straight, and you won't even need to make a move. You'll just drive straight past him. So let's see if that happens now as they come down towards Eau Rouge for the final time.
Yeah, I think he's realised that Bortolotti just doesn't quite have the pace to catch up to Gordy Much. So now Bart Horsten is going to have a go. He was 0.3 of a second quicker. He's matching the leader for pace right now. Bortolotti trying to break the toe as they come down the Kemmel Straight. It's a long drag up the hill. Horsten to the outside line. Bortolotti just has enough to stay in front for now. Coming through the end of the Kemmel Straight. Through they come down towards Brussels. Looking all good for them right now, but Horsten, there's still a lot. There's definitely a lot of places you can overtake, and I think he could be now already thinking about the bus stop chicane, even La Source, which is a perfect overtaking opportunity to be in the last corner, and how wide it is to just chuck one up the inside. Bortolotti holding on for now, but Gordy Much is pretty much secure in that Heat 3 race win out front, coming down towards Pouhon. And again, they don't really want to fight in this section because Kiko Porto and Dudu Barrichello could easily close in on them very quickly if they slow themselves up down to the end of this section into Sector 3. And Bortolotti holding on for now as they come through. But now, this is where the overtaking opportunities can come. He's going to be in the slipstream. Bart Horsten, he's 1 point off the championship leader. He's going to get through to the feature race, but every grid slot will count. He needs to get as close to Liam Lawson as he possibly can. But here we go. Against Bortolotti now as they come down towards the bus stop chicane. He's got Blanchimont to negotiate, and he'll be in the slipstream as they come down now. On board with Bart Horsten as he'll come down towards Blanchimont, and the Italian is going to try and hold on. Look at the overspeed he gets as they come through Blanchimont down towards the bus stop chicane. Where's he going to go? Bortolotti defends the inside. Horsten late on the brakes on the outside line. They touch as they come through, but Bortolotti holds on for now. One more opportunity down towards La Source as they come through. Gordy Much is about to negotiate through La Source, and he will take the win, but I think Bortolotti has just done enough to hold on as they come down towards La Source for the last time. Gordy Much comes through and he will cross the line to win heat race number 3, and Gabriele Bortolotti has just about held on against Bart Horsten. A valiant effort from the Australian, but he will not quite get that grid slot, and Bortolotti will start 2 grid spots in front of him, which could make the difference, and Liam Lawson will start the highest of the lot of them. But Gordy Much, Bortolotti, Horsten, Porto, Barrichello, Behrman, Vossen and Alex Connor will get through to the feature race. The rest will go to the consolation race.
Brilliant race to end the heats. We now have all the drivers that didn't finish in the top 8. They are about to go into a consolation race, which will be just 3 laps, and the top 5 from that will go through. Then we will have our feature race. So whilst that is happening, whilst the consolation race is going to take place, we're actually going to head back to Gemma, who has a great interview coming up for us. I'm sure she is now going to be chatting to us with Formula E driver and DTM driver Robin Fries.
Driver now with Envision Virgin Racing. Lovely to have you here with us for the show this evening. Robin, you and I first met many years ago when you were driving in the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. It was your debut year in the championship, and you were the 2nd driver ever to win the championship in your debut season. It was an incredible year for you. You were racing against some incredible talents. And I will never forget, towards the end of the season, sitting down with you and discussing the harsh realities of moving through your career, of how you'd always relied on prize money, to how you were going to progress from there.
Yeah, true. I mean, obviously, was in a position that firstly I can have the opportunity to drive cars in my beginning of my career in Formula BMW and so forth. But then, as the cars are getting quicker, bigger, it's getting more expensive, obviously. So, and I didn't really have the banking behind me that, well, it's easy to put the money on the table and so forth. So I was relying a lot on prize money, which I was trying to win, especially the Formula Renault 2 liters the year before, which was 2011. Knowing that if I would lose this championship, my career would probably be over. So by winning a championship, you get a half million prize money to go forward in the World Series championship. So I won that one, and yeah, the World Series one was a very unexpected year for me because I came there as a rookie. I think I was only 20 years old compared to all the experienced drivers like Sam, Jules, Magnussen, who had a lot of experience back in the day. It was definitely a highlight, definitely a lot of fun. Also, always put a lot of pressure on my own shoulders, knowing what I have behind me. Obviously, my dad worked very hard to get where I am now, but also in those days, it was all thanks to him to, well, get me in the World Series car as well. I think those years, 2011, 12, really shaped up my career where I am now. And I think I'm always being thankful for that. And you should never forget where you come from at the end.
You've always been really humble in that way. And I remember talking to you at that time and saying, realistically, you should be going now to Formula One. And I think even then you said, yeah, but I won't, because I don't have the financial backing.
It was quite difficult, yes. In 2013, 14, I was reserve driver, test driver for Formula One in Sauber and in Caterham the year after. Obviously, it wasn't so easy. You race against guys which you beaten on track, but they get the opportunity to drive in Formula One just because they have a big sponsor behind them or just, good banking behind them. So I'm always been a person that's always want to treat people fair and also want to be treated fair. And in that Formula One world and those times, especially with the crisis we had back then, with the financial crisis which was going on, it was very difficult to come in Formula One without any sponsorship. And even though I got the reserve and the test roll, I've driven a Formula One car, but basically not paying a single euro, which it was also quite exceptional in those times. So, but at the end of the day, you need to be thankful what you have. I mean, I know a lot of drivers in my karting days, as I did 10 years of karting, which were also really talented, really good, and fighting with them. I got beaten by them a few times, and they just didn't have the backing at all to drive single-seater cars. So you should never forget that what you have, even though, yeah, you always try to go further, you always, try to go a step up. But I'm just very happy in the position where I am now, where I can drive Formula E. I drive DTM. I'm a works driver in Audi Sports, which is basically only 6 seats available around the world, and I'm one of them. So you should be proud of that as a driver, I think.
And Formula E is a fantastic championship.
It is. It is a very difficult championship because if you start up when you're young, like me, like 16, 17, you jump in the single seaters and you learn basically the small basics of what Formula One has. But Formula E is a complete different category of what you need to do in the car. You have to regen, you have energy saving, which you would never do in a World Series or Formula Renault cars back in the day. So it's a bit of a different way of racing. It's very challenging. And if you see on the grid now in Formula E, there are only real top drivers there. And that's also showing how difficult the car is to drive. We're driving on street tracks. We don't have any runoff areas or whatsoever, which personally I like. But if you do a mistake, that should be the end of your race.
Are you looking forward to getting back into that team environment? I know you're back out to the Nürburgring this weekend.
Yes, I'm very well looking forward for it. I mean, I've been sitting at home for months now, which, yeah, it's different because I'm never home so much as I do 2 championships. So I could work in the garden a bit here and there, but after 2 weeks, you're done with that as well. But yeah, I mean, next coming up weekend will be GT3 again with Audi on Nordschleife. It's going to be the first race for me since months. Really looking forward for it. And yeah, hopefully I don't lose it yet.
Well, I wish you the best of luck getting back out to racing and looking forward to seeing you physically at a racetrack soon.
Yes, hopefully very soon.
Great to hear from Robin there, and his battle financially to get where he has in his career doing Formula E and DTM. He is certainly going to be a real inspiration to many. And we're now going to go back to Gemma, who's speaking with a driver who I'm sure will hope to repeat the success that Robin has had in his career. She is now chatting with TCR Europe racer Andreas Bachmann.
So Andreas, thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you here with us as part of the show. What I'm intrigued by is your career, because you started off in karting back in 2005. You took your career to an international level 5 years later, racing all over the world again in karts. When you first started out, what was your goal and your ambition?
From the first years, I was just doing it more for fun, and I was starting to get more and more serious after a few years. And then when I was finished with karting after about 10 years, then I thought the rallycross was a fun new experience. And then after that, I was starting to do rallycross for 1 year. And then 2 years ago, I started to do touring cars. So that was a bit different as well. Have had a quite different career to most other drivers, I think, because I have done so many different kind of disciplines in a few years' time. So.
You started out in 2018 in touring cars. You finished 4th in 2019. This year, you were all set to attack and to try and get yourself a top 3 finish minimum, if not a championship title.
Yeah, it was a really good year last year when I did the European, and 4th was really good. So, and the first year I did the touring cars straight away. I was quite up to speed, I would say. And now last year 4th, and I had the 1 win as well. So it's been going well. And yeah, for this year, I'm hoping to go for the win this year.
Am I right in thinking that your sister races as well?
Yeah, we are both racing in the same team, and she's the only girl in the whole series. She had 1 podium as well, so it was a really good year for her as well. We're always very equal in lap times and stuff like that, so it's quite funny, yeah.
Quite fun, but also probably quite annoying having your sister racing with you. I know when I used to drive, my brother would always say, "You're no way you're doing anything that I'm doing." So yeah, the brother-sister rivalry. Listen, thank you very much for joining us. It's been lovely chatting to you, and I wish you all the best when the championships get back underway, and hopefully see you up there with a championship title.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Great to hear from Andreas, and remember commentating on him and his sister Jessica in karting, and to see what they've both gone on to achieve since has been absolutely fantastic. And a thanks to Jem Scott for all the brilliant interviews throughout the series. More of those coming up post-feature race. Right, you join us. You would have been seeing it at the bottom of your screens, but you would have now joined us at the end of the consolation race. The top 5 from this go through. Casper Stevenson wins. Stevens in second, Mott third, Donaldson and Yellerly will all go into the feature race. The big story, of course, Lullum, after the incident that he had in Heat 2, was put to the back of the grid at the consolation race after he was wiped out in Heat number 2. And, well, he's decided, unsurprisingly, that he does not want to take part. So he has exited. His chances of the championship, he feels, are over. So he will not be going out in the feature race. So that leaves us with 4 drivers who are fighting for the title. Hoggard, our championship leader, he is not here. He is tied on points with Lawson, but he is too busy to race this evening. So he is effectively no chance for him to win the championship unless no one else scored points. So a very, very slim chance, shall we say. Now the championship contenders after that. Lawson is on 30 points. He will start 7th on the grid in this race. Horston is then behind that. He's second. 1 point behind Lawson. He's going to be starting P9. Payne who is next with 23 points, will start 10th. And then we have Bortolotti, who will start, as we can see, from 6th place. So they are all together. They're within 2 rows. Row 4 and 5 is where all the championship protagonists end. Top 10 score points in this feature race. 25 go to the winner, 18 to second, 15 to third. Then it's 12 for 4th, 10 for 5th, and then we work down in 2s. 9th scoring 2 points and 10th scoring 1 point. Grid on your screen. This is it, the finale of the Ultimate eDriver Series. 3 weeks, 3 different tracks in 3 different cars, and it all ends at Spa-Francorchamps in the BMW M8 GTE. Jack, just some quick thoughts for you before we do start. It's been a fantastic series. What are you expecting from this one?
To be honest, I've covered the April series, I've covered the May series, and of course the Ultimate eDriver series, and you can't count anything out. If any of you have seen the April Isolation series, that literally came down to the last lap, last corner, 0.07 of a second across the line. We cannot discount anything from happening today, and it makes it even better that all the championship contenders are all bunched up within about 3 rows, and they're right in the middle of the pack as well, so they cannot afford to get anything wrong. They've got to stick with each other, and it is going to come down to the strategy, the pit stops, and they've got to keep it clean, got to watch the off tracks. But it has been amazing. It's been an amazing season so far. Let's round it off in style, because this is going to be a fantastic championship fight. Almost 7 points between all the championship contenders, and I honestly couldn't tell you who's going to take it today, but it's going to be fantastic. So Chris, take it away, please.
Well, here we are. We do have a pit stop. That is for fuel, a mandatory pit stop they have to do. But at the end of 8 laps, we are going to find out who is going to be our champion. The cars just making their way down to La Source now, which will be the final corner. But Jack, you've been here for the ride all 3 months. I'm actually going to hand it back to you this time. You take us through the start of this grand finale.
Green light, and we go racing. Josh Malin leads, Gulbertson in second, and Gordy Much gets a great getaway for 3rd place. Ramez Azam following, then Mike Epps and Liam Lawson slotting in front of Mirko Bortolotti in 6th. They're battling away 3 abreast between the championship leaders as they come down the Kemmel Straight. As you can see, Phil Dennis trying to get around the outside of Bortolotti. He does get in front. Bart Horston trying to find some space as he tries to get past Liam Lawson. This is a crucial pass that he needs to make. He's on the outside line as they come to the end of the Kemmel Straight. Horston round the outside of Lawson, side by side they go. Bortolotti is ahead of both of them as well, which is a crucial one as well. Lawson keeps himself in front, and Bortolotti has got ahead of them both. Lawson and Horston behind. As we look now, Gordy Much, Ramez Azam up his inside as they come down through Brussels. Side by side they go, gets a little clout in the rear as they come through. Mike Epps slots ahead again, and Gordy Much gets put down to 5th place as a result. But Phil Dennis ahead of Bortolotti, ahead of Lawson, ahead of Horston, and Matthew Payne is also in that fight as well. We've just seen Freddie Spindlow, who's trying to get himself off the grass here, which is not easier said than done. Matty Hingley is trying to just get himself ahead of Callum Vossen and Ollie Behrman. These guys started way further down the field, as you can see, as they come through Pouon, and there's a car trying to rejoin. Big accident, massive. Will Stevens, I think that was, who was just getting involved right there. It's not Will Stevens, it was somebody flipping around right there. Alex Connor, it looks like, and Luke Browning, who were involved in a huge one at the exit of Pouon, trying to rejoin. But Josh Malin leads, Kenneth Gulbertson second, Ramez Azam, Mike Epps, Gordy Much, Phil Dennis, Bortolotti, Lawson, Horston and Payne are all together on the same piece of road.
Yeah, brilliant start to the race. First lap only, as you said. You can see Josh Malin there. He is leading the race at the moment from Gulbranson, Azam, Epps. Then we have Dennis, Much, Bortolotti, Lawson and Horston. So we have to keep an eye on those championship contenders. So it looks like there may have been a bit of a crash there, Jack.
Yeah, it looks like it, but now you can see they've just managed to get through. Bortolotti's now under pressure from Liam Lawson, and Horston's trying to fend off Matthew Payne in the background as well as they come through. And now you can see Lawson round that was Phil Dennis getting past Bortolotti, and Lawson's also trying to do the same thing as they come down towards Eau Rouge. These are the 4 contenders together. And Horston in for the pit stop. He's coming in early, peels out of the battle, and this is a pit stop for fuel. Alex Connor was also in after his crash. But now that's the crucial. We need to keep an eye on Bart Horsen. He's opted for the early stop. We look back at Mike Epps, who's under pressure from Gordy Much. You can see Gordy's got some damage on the front end, but it's not seems to be hindering him. Phil Dennis under pressure now from Bortolotti, who's got Liam Lawson behind. Epps switched to the inside on Gordy Much, and Phil Dennis trying to go around his outside. They're going to make a little bit of contact, and the same thing happens to Phil Dennis again. He gets put on the grass, and Bortolotti slots ahead of him. Matthew Payne is there, and Lawson has lost 2 places. Matthew Payne is through. Kiko Porto's got ahead of him, and Lawson knows he needs to get through past him. Matthew Payne now up the inside of Dennis, so Payne's on a charge now. He's chasing after Bortolotti. Matthew Payne is also in the title fight, don't forget, so don't count him out just yet. But Lawson drops back to 10th place, and he's now behind Kiko Porto, and he's got Dudu Barrichello behind him. And remember, keep an eye out for Bart Horsen. He's just opted for the early pit stop. He's going to be charging through. Do not take your eyes off this race.
No, it's fantastic. That pit stop is really going to add in a lot to this race. They have to do it. It is to take on fuel. And Horston has decided he wants to come in early. They'll have enough to get to around 6 laps of the race. So some drivers may decide they want to stay out all the way until the tank is pretty much empty. But Horston has tried to give himself some clear space at the back. The only problem is if other drivers start doing that ahead of him, he might get caught up in some traffic, Jack.
There is Bart Horsen. I think it was a smart choice because they were battling hard in that mid-pack as well. So we'll see now whether he's going to be able to jump any of them. He needs to bang in some really fast laps now. But as well, he needs to make sure that he's taking on enough fuel because he can't afford to be fuel saving. Now back with Mike Epps as Mirko Bortolotti is on his tail as they come to the bus stop chicane, and Matthew Payne as well. He's losing it on the brakes on the way through. And just in the background, Kiko Porto versus Phil Dennis. And now Porto's trying to get through. Liam Lawson might capitalise. Watch out for Dudu Barrichello, who's also in the background as well now. So Dennis and Porto side by side to last source. Matthew Payne managing to keep the car in check in the bus stop chicane, but Porto trying to get past Phil Dennis, still side by side through last source. Contact made, banging wheels as they come through, and they're going to make even more contact. Liam Lawson and Bortolotti in for the pit lane. This is to respond to Bart Horsten, so this is going to be a crucial one as they watch through. Dennis has to see the position to Kiko Porto as they come up through Eau Rouge, up atop of Radion. Watch out for Dudu Barrichello, but Bortolotti and Lawson have both pitted, and it's a crucial one now as we go back to the lead. Kenneth Gulbertson versus Josh Malin for the lead. We haven't even focused on the lead battle because we're so focused on the championship battle. And an interesting one as well, Eduardo and Rubens together on track, 9th and 10th. Interesting one.
Yeah, I wonder if Rubens will be up to his old antics again here. As you said, well, I'll be keeping an eye on the points throughout the race, definitely. But no big changes can be made so far. It's really, we've got to keep an eye on Matthew Payne, who is in 6th place, to see how he gets on and when he decides to come into the pits. There he is. So Matthew Payne is the only championship contender here that has not come in to the pits. As we got a driver just off in the background there, but we'll keep an eye on when Matthew Payne decides to come in.
Bart Horsen has jumped him, and I think there's a problem for Liam Lawson. He's dropped off the timing screen. Bart Horsen jumps Bortolotti, and he's jumped Liam Lawson at the same time, so the early stop has worked for him. But I've seen Liam Lawson is now back in the pit lane. I think he's crashed. I think Liam Lawson is out of this race. He's back in the pit lane. That's a big one. Bart Horsen and Bortolotti are the only ones here, but there's been a problem for Liam Lawson. Let's have a look and see if we can see what happened to him. Can't quite see what happened right there, but it looks like Liam Lawson was involved in an accident of his own right there as they came through. And we now go back to the action once again, but that's a big one. That was the championship leader by default, Liam Lawson on 30 points, and now he is out of contention. So the big one we need to watch right now is Bart Horsten versus Matthew Payne. But if Bart Horsten finishes ahead, then the championship will go to him. So we need to keep an eye on it. But we're keeping an eye for now on the battle for the lead between Josh Malin, Kenneth Gulbertson, Ramez Azam. Gordy Much still hanging in there in that 4th place. Then Mike Epps will follow through. Matthew Payne is still in 7th and 6th place. Phil Dennis, Eduardo Barrichello, Kiko Porto, and Rubens Barrichello, who's now into the pit lane. So Rubens is in, Enzo Mucci is in, Will Stevens is also into the pit lane. So there's a lot of cars coming in on this lap. And you can see Josh Malin just trying to weave his way to break the toe out front. And now we keep an eye to see if the Norwegian, on his debut in the series, if he can hold on and try and take a win here, which would be a great result for him. But now you can see he's trying to do his best. Josh Malin having a great run in the lead as well. Ramez Azam, no stranger to fighting up here. It was back in April that he was fighting in the opening round of this whole series of championships. Ramez Azam battling with Mohamed Ibrahim for the win, and he had to give it way to Mohamed Ibrahim in that one. But no sign of Ibrahim today, which is a bit of a shame. Would have liked to have seen him out in these cars, but it's Bart Horsten 16th, Mirko Bortolotti in 17th place, and Liam Lawson, no sign of him out on track. So it's going to look like for the moment that Bart Horsten is in the box seat for this championship.
Well, Jack, you say that, but this is the points at the moment. So Horsten leading on 31, Epps second on 30, Hoggard on 30, Lawson on 30, then 3 drivers on 29, Malin, Azam and Payne all on 29 points, then Bortolotti on 28 points. So we have 3 points between the top 8 drivers. It couldn't be any closer. So Mike Epps has pulled himself into contention. Of course, we do have to take into account pit stops have to be made. Horsten might be in the box seat at the moment to take the lead, but anything can happen in this race, as we have just seen with Lawson. There could be some big changes to those points, but at the moment Horsten on 2 points, and that is why everything is looking extremely close. But Horsten has got himself in a brilliant position, as you said, but we do have to take into account just how quickly things can change. But more names just pulling themselves into contention. The likes of Epps and Azam and Malin all jumping up into points where they could challenge for the title.
Yeah, Josh Malin, even though he's in the lead at the moment, looks like he won't really be able to challenge unless something really drastic happens behind him. But yeah, definitely, we completely discounted Mike Epps, and he's clearly in the title battle, tied now on 30 points. We go back now, Kenneth Gulbertson now putting the pressure on Josh Malin up front. As you can see, he's trying, almost making contact in the braking zone, trying to force Malin to go wide. Ramez Azam is also in there as well, as we now continue the way through up the end of the Kemmel Straight through this sequence of corners. A lot of cars in the pit lane now. Nagatsua, Behrman, Cottrell, Donaldson and Yellowly have all come in for their stops now on board with Kenneth Gulbertson, and there is a lapped car which may come into play right here, and I think Mike Epps has just been overtaken actually, so now he's losing points as we come down towards Pouhon once again. And for now, Josh Malin's still in the lead, but now they've got to be thinking about pit stops because there's not long left to go. There is 3 laps to go across the line. I would not be surprised if they all came in on this particular lap. The top 10 tend to follow each other, but we'll see where the championship leaders and where the championship contenders are going to come out relative to this. So this is going to be really a 2 or 3 lap sprint to the finish.
Yeah, we're on board here with Kenneth Gulbertson at the moment, and it's just about what happens when those guys decide to come into the pits. That might be now. Some of them may decide they want to go 1 more lap, just some traffic clearing itself out of the way. That looks to be Mott. Malin goes past, Gulbertson going past as well. Azam also getting past. So Azam and Much, they're not far behind. The top 3 all together here as we make our way down to the bus stop chicane. And are these guys going to come in? And then where does that put them in comparison to the likes of Bart Horsten? That is what we're going to find out very shortly. We're coming up to what is the final corner on this layout, the one we are running today, and that is going to be La Source, and then the pit entry will be directly to your right. So through La Source we go. Are we going to see them all follow each other into the pits? There we go. And as the leader comes in, Malin, everyone else follows him straight through. So now we wait, Jack, to see where Horsten comes out.
Yeah, I think the only one, there was somebody who didn't pit right there. We'll keep an eye on that. But this is Bart Horsten with Mirko Bortolotti right behind him. And interesting enough, Matthew Payne overtook Mike Epps, so he's in that 5th place now, and it's going to be interesting to see who jumps who in the pit stops. But this is now who's going to rejoin where. Bart Horsten coming to the last corner at La Source. Gulbertson has re-emerged ahead of Josh Malin in the pit stops, and they come out. Gulbertson, Malin, Azam, Gordy Much all out of the pit lane as they surge down towards Eau Rouge. There is Gulbertson. They have to use all of the pit road as they come up through Eau Rouge and Radion on. Gulbertson, Malin, Azam, Gordy and Bart Horston versus Matthew Payne. He jumps him, and Bortolotti goes through as well. Very, very close, but Bart Horston slots in front by literally millimeters ahead of Matthew Payne. But Bortolotti now knows he's in with the chance, and now this is going to be a fight between these three, possibly even Mike Epps if he's able to close in at the background as well. But 3 laps to go. Horston, Bortolotti, Payne and Epps are all together on the road, and this in reality is the fight for the championship.
Well, the points are just being updated in front of me now. I can see the guys behind the scenes working to update them. Horston is going to be on 39 points, Payne on 31, and then it looks like Hoggard and Lawson 30 points each. Of course, Lawson's out, so 29 points it is for Payne at the moment. So it is Horston who is now the man to beat. He has managed to find himself some space in terms of the championship out front, but there is still time remaining. 2.5 laps still to go. Bortolotti is there in second. He's on 30 points. Sorry, I didn't look down at Bortolotti. So Bortolotti on 30, Lawson and Hoggard both on 30 as well, and then we find Horston who's on 39 points. That is how close it is. There is only a few points in it. Bortolotti needs to get past Horston. Horston with that 5th place, he's going to score around 10 points for that, and Bortolotti is going to score 8 for 6, so he'll be desperate to get past. And as for the guys ahead, anything can still happen. Don't discredit anything in motor, not just in motorsport, but in esports as well. We've seen it in the April Isolation Series. We've seen it already today with the likes of Lullum and Lawson, and I'm sure we're going to see it again, as we're only going to have a couple of laps remaining when they cross the line next time.
Yep, so Horston very much in the box seat now. He's got a 9-point lead now over Mirko Bortolotti, so it's essentially Bortolotti needs to get through and Horston needs to lose places very quickly. So we'll see if he's able to do so as they come up through Eau Rouge and Radion as they come through. 2 laps to go as they come up the Kemmel Straight. And Horston in 5th, Bortolotti in 6th, Matthew Payne in 7th is now for the lead. Josh Malin on the outside of Gulbertson, and these guys are fighting for a win. They're going to make contact as they come through the chicane, and they managed to somehow come through unscathed right there, but that's dragging now Ramazan and Gordy Much, who's recovered so well, back into 4th place now. So the top 4 are together, and just to say, if these guys keep fighting, Horston, Bortolotti and Payne could also get involved in this. They're not far off the back of them. Don't go anywhere.
No, and what I was going to say, Jack, is Bortolotti, he's not the gap to Payne. Epps Barrichello isn't a lot either, so if he causes a little bit of a fight with Horston, then those guys can catch. So he's in a bit of a predicament here. Does he try and work with Horston, his championship rival, or does he try and create a bit of a scrap and bring some other guys in? Tricky situation to decide as we go side by side. Josh Maitland trying to come around the outside here of Gulbranson. Is he going to get through? Just about. So Maitland through and Gulbranson off into the gravel there. Well, side by side action once again here in the Ultimate eDriver Series. It's living up to its title at the moment, isn't it? We're about to go onto the final lap of the race. Maitland is our Much, Gulbranson, they are the top 4. Then we have our championship leader Horston in 5th, Bortolotti in 6th place with Payne, Epps, Denez and Porter rounding out the top 10. It couldn't be close between the top 4. Look at them now as they make their way down to the bus stop chicane. Josh Malin sits in the middle of the road there. Azam not able to get away through. Then it's Much and Gulbranson. One more lap to go to decide our champion, Jack.
Well, it ended like this in April, not quite in May, but this is reminiscent of the April series as they come down towards La Source, round the last corner. The final lap of the series is about to begin. Josh Malin leads, Ramez Azam is 2nd, Gordy Much is 3rd, and Kenneth Gulbranson is 4th. And now he's going to have the slipstream problem for Matthew Payne. He's dropping down the order, so Matthew Payne drops out of contention for the title. As you can see, he's spun it somewhere, just coming onto the entry of turn number 1. But now the top 4 are going to go so close together. Ramez Azam going for it now on the outside line, but Gordy Much will have the double toe as well in the background as they come down the Kemmel Straight. Gordy Much makes it 3 wide on the inside line. Can he outbreak it? Not quite. Has to back out Ramez Azam round the outside. Contact, and they spin, and Gordy Much manages to get through, but Gulbertson has to get collected as well. They both spin at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Gordy Much leads, Kenneth Gulbranson 2nd, Bart Horston is on the podium now, and Mirko Bortolotti is behind him. Eduardo Barrichello fills Will Dennis, Mike Epps, Azam, Malin and Porto. Epps just slots ahead of Azam right now, but it came to blows just like it did in the final round of the April series, but it now puts Bart Horsten on the podium, which for sure is going to secure him this title.
Brilliant stuff. What did I tell you? Anything can happen. Just anything can happen in motorsport. And there is an example of that. It may have worked out even better for Bart Horsten, but it ended in tears for those guys fighting for the lead, unfortunately. And that is how quickly things can change. But it is still Bart Horsten who leads the championship. He is now on 44 points ahead of Lawson in 30. Hoggard also in 30. Bortolotti on 34 points. Only a few more corners to go now, Jack, before Bart Horsten is going to crown himself champion.
He gets past Kenneth Gulbrandsen for that second place on, and Bortolotti's also going to get through. So Gulbrandsen cruelly loses the podium as they come through Blanchimont for the final time. I wouldn't call the battle for second place just over to say I'm sure Bortolotti might have a think about it as they head up towards the bus stop chicane for the final time, the final round of the Ultimate eDriver Series live on BT Sport, coming through the bus stop chicane, then over towards La Source. We can't forget Gordy Much out in the lead as well. Going to be his first win of the championship in fabulous fashion. The Scotsman about to come through the final corner, and he will cross the line to win the final round of the Ultimate eDriver Series. But coming through towards the line, you can see now, I think Bortolotti, Horsten is slowing down as they come across the line, but I think it'll still be enough. Horsten runs out of fuel as he comes across the line, but he crosses the line and he's losing spot. He's down to 6th place. What does that do? Bortolotti is second. They need to work out the points frantically behind now. Horsten's run out of fuel before the line and is classified as 6th. I think Bortolotti might have just done it.
Well, 6, that gets you, I believe that is 8 points for 6th place, and Bortolotti will get 18 points. So that is a 12-point difference. And does that hand the title to Bortolotti? I can tell you it is 8 points for Horsten. That gives him 37, but Bortolotti gets 18 points, and that is 40 points. So at the line, Bortolotti has been crowned the Ultimate eDriver Series champion with Horsten running out of fuel. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Anything can happen. Do not count anything out in this championship. And at the line, Bart Horsten, in dramatic circumstances, has run out of fuel, and he loses the title by just 3 points to Mirko Bortolotti. Bortolotti, I cannot believe it. I never ever thought that would be how this championship would be decided. You said, Jack, earlier in the race that he would have to be careful with that early stop running out of fuel, and at this point we're on board with Bart Horsten. He knew he ran out of fuel. He was just hoping he'd done enough, and as he crossed the line, Bortolotti came past. I wonder how much was in it in live timing, how close it was between the two, but Bortolotti finishes on 40 points, Horsten on 37. I do not believe what I've just seen.
Wow, it happened in April. It came down to the final corner last lap. There was a crash that time, but Bart Horsten runs out of fuel, coasts across the line, and Bortolotti has done it by a margin of 3 single points. That almost equals the amazing finish to the April Isolation Series. But we have to say a well done to Gordy Much as well. He wins his first race of the championship and the last one as well. But wow, I'm actually speechless. I didn't think that would happen in any kind of championship. And I thought that Bart Horsten initially was letting Bortolotti to go through, but then he kept slowing down and boom, 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 through they go, and classified as 6th and loses the title by 3 points. I can't believe it, Chris. I mean,
I'm just looking at the gaps. He was 12 hundredths back from 5th, but even that wouldn't have been enough. He would have lost it by 1 point then. So it went even higher than that. He was less than a second, I think, away from being champion, and that is how little it was, the gap. I mean, you did say earlier in the race that he's going to have to fuel save, and he can't afford to do that. He just didn't fuel save enough, clearly, or he was flat out all the way, and he ran out coming out of the final corner. If we were using the layout where we weren't using La Source, then I don't know if that would have changed anything. But Bart Horsten tragically loses the championship to Mirko Bortolotti, who will probably have no idea he's won it yet. But as I'm looking at an Excel spreadsheet and the points were going in, bang, there went the 40, and that is where I saw by 3 points Mirko Bortolotti had won. And Bart Horston with 37. Lawson was 30. The rest of the championship, Hoggard 4th on 30. Then it was Much on 26, Epps on 24, Payne on 24, Azam on 24, Dudu Barrichello on 23, and Denez rounded out the top 10 on 22 points. Well, I believe our champion is ready to chat with us. So I'm going to head over now to Gemma Scott for some reaction. What a finish that was, Gemma.
I still can't quite believe that, boys. That was absolutely unbelievable to see. Bart just slowing down at the end there. Incredibly difficult for him. And Bart is actually standing by to have a quick chat with us. But, you know, I'm struggling to get my words out for you, Bart, because that was just catastrophic right at the end there. Just the fuel saving didn't quite work out for you, man.
Yeah, well, I didn't know it was a problem until the last lap. I thought I had an extra litre or so, but I was fuel saving a bit at the end, but I hadn't really... You don't usually touch the fuel mixers on iRacing, so I didn't really know what to do. So I was just coasting a bit, but yeah, I just got it wrong. I think I had like 0.2 litres coming around the last corner, and it started, I don't know what, sputtering, and lost a lot of time there. I have no. Do you know who won the championship?
Yeah, I can tell you now that our championship leader is in fact your rival Mirko Bortolotti, who is also standing in with us in a commentary right now. But I am so sorry that it came down to that for you. But Mirko, I have to come over across to you right now, because we've been trying to speak all week, but finally we do it in the best conditions that it could be for you. Congratulations. You are officially the Ultimate eRacing Driver Series champion.
Oh, well, that's honestly, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, thank you. Last week at the Nürburgring, after that mistake I did in the pit lane with the pit limiter, I said, oh my god, I completely destroyed my championship there, and I lost 15 points, and I never expected to be able to win it today. So yeah, this race was honestly breathtaking. I saw Bart pitting on lap 1, if I'm not wrong, and I said to myself, well, that's technically really, really difficult that you can make it with the fuel, because you can only refill like 3.5, 4 liters if you pit on lap 1, and you need 7, 8 to finish the race. So I said, well, that's gonna be close. If it's gonna make it, it's gonna be really close. And I really expected this to happen, but I was really, really tight on fuel as well, because I refueled only 7 liters. And I ran out on the line, so actually it helped me to come out of the pits behind him, so I could really save fuel in the last 3 laps, and at the end it worked out for me. So I'm really, really happy. Actually, never expected that. Thanks for the invite once again. Really, really cool series, and great to be part of it, and fantastic to take the championship.
It's been wonderful to have you as part of that, to see you crowned as champion tonight again. I wish you, huge success. Congratulations to you. And to know that both of you were struggling there with your fuel is very, very interesting to know. Just goes to show how important your race engineers are to you. Now, standing by, of course, we also have our race winner, the first win of the series for you tonight, Gordy Much. Congratulations. What a race.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was pretty quick, but the times were so close. I mean, in practice, the entire series, the times have been covered by a 10th between the top 10. So to win this race is absolutely awesome. I knew that I'd have a chance. I sort of waited until the opportunity was given, and I managed to find it on the last lap of all laps, and managed to take the win. But I'm so happy with the result.
And it looked incredibly fast. I mean, Spa is a great circuit. It's traditionally known as one of the most enjoyable circuits for so many reasons. And tonight, from the onboard footage that we could see, you guys were quick.
Yeah, I think, the standard of this series has been incredible. We have drivers.
Oh, I think we might be losing
Luke
the
Browning.
connection.
We've got
You're back.
people like. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we've got you now, Gordy.
Yeah. So like I said, the talent in the series is just extraordinary. So yeah, no, like I think in general there's a lot of fast drivers in there, and we all push each other to be as fast as possible. So yeah, no, I was on the limit. I couldn't go much faster, and I'd probably say the same for the rest of the drivers.
Well, it paid off. Congratulations to you, Gordy. Thank you very much for joining us. And I just want to cross over to Philippe Dines, who finished, I believe, in 4th position in the end, just chasing down Eduardo Barrichello, who popped on through ahead of his father, having raced side by side through so much of that race. Phil, a wonderful evening once again.
It was a little bit tough after qualifying second, getting pushed around a little bit here and there. The aggressive drivers, it was a little bit frustrating, but the race was pretty good. I even had a couple of mistakes. I got driven off at the end of the long straight and lost a little bit of time, but I also missed my pit box and I still ended up finishing 4th, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Very good going. It certainly was a challenging race, and it goes to show, like I said earlier on, how much you rely on your engineers in the real world of racing, and when you're on the sims, there is still that factor.
Yeah, I had no idea how much fuel to put in, so I kind of just guesstimated, and it worked out. So
congratulations, well done to you, and thank you for joining us throughout the isolation racing series that we have been running. What a journey it's been, ladies and gentlemen. The last 3 months, we've had April isolation, we've had May isolation, and then, of course, we concluded our eSports season with the ultimate e-racing driver, putting the drivers absolutely and ultimately to the test in terms of learning tracks, learning cars, and that last-minute surprise of where they're going. And, of course, congratulations once again to our championship winner of this final season in June, Mirko Bortolotti. Esports have exploded, haven't they? And I think it's safe to say they are very much here to stay. They've shown a great impact on the world of motorsport throughout this pandemic and this crisis that we've been suffering. And it certainly has been an insight and an eye-opener into how valuable sim racing is to help drivers in their training and to help them to refine their race craft. And back to racing they are going after this long period of training. Well, a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved in making this such a success. Thank you to everybody who's put the series together, including BT Sport, of course, for giving us such a great opportunity to get e-racing on the television. Thank you to our commentators and everybody behind the scenes. And watch this space, ladies and gentlemen, because I can tell you now, we will be back. And in the meantime, take care and good night.